Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening in. This is Jessica Counts, Sales and Events Manager with California Hotel and Lodging Association. Today's webinar, Taking Back Control Post-COVID-19, will be recorded and posted on our website at citylodging.com. When you have a chance, visit our homepage to view our coronavirus updates and resources, and in this section, we'll include today's recording along with information relating to COVID we have available for you. And on your toolbar, I do encourage you to type in and submit any questions during the presentation. If you go ahead and please enter any questions you have for our speaker, and we'll do our best to clarify those for you. And to give you a little background on our speaker, Casey Davey is the VP Americas of Head of Marketing at Busy Room Central Reservation System, a company he co-founded in 2013. Casey is driven by transforming and optimizing sales and marketing strategies, as well as bringing concepts to life. He has a background of marketing, media, and business development consulting, where for many years he helped brands and companies to optimize their influence on consumer behavior. So now we will go ahead and hear from Casey. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for the introduction, and welcome to everyone for joining us today on this on the webinar. Excellent. So first of all, I guess let's start off. Okay, sorry, I lost control there for a second of my system, but hopefully we don't have any more technical glitches. So today I'm going to be taking you guys through a quick journey and an update in terms of how you can start to take back control during and post COVID-19. During, because we're still in the middle of the pandemic, and we're basically surviving and living today and powering through an unknown territory that can't be compared to any others in the past. The agenda for today is going to be offering your guests peace of mind, reviewing your digital footprint, sales initiatives to regenerate business, reviewing your distribution strategy, and a system and sales checklist. But before we get into that today, I'd like you guys to join me on a little exercise. I'd like everyone to take a moment, sit back, stand if you prefer, with your elbows slightly back. Inhale for a deep breath with me for a count of 10. And exhale. And the reason I asked you guys to do that is because in the news today and every day for the last few months, we've been inundated with a lot of negative news, and we're starting to see the silver linings, as I like to say. COVID hasn't been all bad, although it has been, and it has a lot of negative effects on our business, as in the hospitality industry and travel altogether. But there have been some silver linings. I just want to take a few minutes to just kind of point out some of the positive impacts of COVID. One is that we've seen a decline in crime during the pandemic. Businesses have actually been able to evolve themselves in some ways and find better ways and smarter ways and less expensive ways of actually running and operating their businesses. So it's actually given us a moment to have to step back and review in terms of how we run and operate our businesses. I think the delivery services is the easiest example, and we've all wished we all probably have wished that we invested in Zoom a couple of years back. Also, it's been great for the environment. We've seen some, global pollution has significantly declined across the globe, and oil prices and insurance costs have gone down to an all-time low. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see those insurance rates hike post the pandemic. However, we are seeing signs of recovery. Some of this data is slightly dated by a couple of weeks, but it still is a prediction. As I mentioned before, we actually have we don't have a crystal ball that we can look into the future, because we don't have historic events that have both a pandemic and a recession happening at the same time, with the extent of in terms of, or the global hospitality economy that we had in 2019 and the rates of growth that we had then, to see how that affected, what the effects of the pandemic and the issue in recession are going to be. However, there are some signs of recovery. We can see the RPK, which is the revenue per passenger mile. We can see that starting to increase. And when we look at year-on-year domestic and international travel in the U.S., we're actually starting to see at the beginning of June, starting to see that trickle upwards. So we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So things aren't all that dire, although business is not what it used to be, but we are seeing some positive indications. But let's speak about California specifically. California dreaming. California, when you compare it to the rest of the U.S., is actually seen a slightly better increase as things start to improve. We're seeing up to June 20th, we're seeing increases in terms of ADR, and when we look at occupancy, we can definitely see that trending upwards. So again, I wanted to share a little bit of good news before we actually get into how we can help regenerate some sales and some business. So things are on the up and up. ADRs aren't where we want them to be, of course. They're still down 36.8%, but across California. But we'll hopefully start to see that pick up in 2021, slowly but surely, especially once international travel starts to rebound. But again, without a vaccine, we are still working without a crystal ball and in uncharted territory. The good news is that we're open. Hotels are reopening or open already, and they are preparing for for guests that are going to be traveling, for the ones who are going to be doing domestic trips or going by car or train, or going to be doing staycations in their own city. But what are they going to be expecting? One of the major shifts of COVID-19 and our current situation is changing consumer behavior. Not only has travel changed, but it's what a lot of these things are doing, or they're creating a very anxious customer. So global airlines are going to be consolidating. So that means there's going to be fewer airlines probably operating, and we don't know how that's going to affect prices yet. There's so many different arguments in the industry right now, whether they will increase for sure, whether they will maintain the same prices we saw before. We're still yet to see what that's going to look like in reality. But that being said, it's very frustrating from a consumer's point of view, because before they've even booked their hotel, they have to decide on, how am I going to get there, especially when you're looking at your international or visitors, customers that are going to be flying in versus driving. Travelers have to pass a fever test. They were going to now require more documentation. There's going to be required tracing in some states and in some countries. So depending on where that visitor is coming from, that person is going to be pretty stressed out by the time they even arrive at your hotel, much less before they even book the hotel. And sanitization is going to become a huge factor in terms of everything that we do, from personal sanitization of having your own mask and your own disinfectant, your own hands, but also just in terms of traveling on public or flights. We've seen American Airlines in the news this week being ridiculed for their a lack of sanitization, or not keeping in line with what they said or promised that they would do. And we've already seen that the middle seat has been eradicated. That is no longer going to be left vacant. So things are changing pretty rapidly. But my point being is that we are going to have a frustrated traveler who, before they even book your hotel, they're going to have to go through all of these obstacles, just in terms of planning their next vacation. This was just a quick shot from Instagram that I pulled out this morning, that kind of kind of showed in terms of the obstacle course that a customer now has to go through, and it's going to really impact their behavior in terms of the way that they travel and the way that and their expectations when they actually arrive at your hotel, not to mention the buy-in process. So what can we do as hoteliers to try to make this process a little bit easier? The first thing is definitely offering peace of mind, trying to reassure the guests that the property, because health is obviously at top of mind. So ensuring them that your property has been hard at work over the last few months, just into their operations and acclimatize into the new norm, and ensuring that that you and your staff are following all processes and cleansing procedures that have been put in place, whether regulatory or not, to ensure that your guest is going to be safe when they arrive at your property. Biggest one at the top of the list is sanitization. I know California has the clean and safe guidance that the hotel industry has put together, that you can find on the CHLA website. But ensuring, and more importantly, communicating to your customers and your potential customers that you have taken the necessary steps, not only in terms of, again, doing it on a one-off, but make sure that you have this information easily visible on your website. Share it with your online travel agent partners, with the travel agents that you work with, so that they are aware that your property is following protocol. But also remind them that your staff will also be complying with best practices, and that you're going to be continuously training them to ensure that they meet the guidelines that are required to ensure that your guests are as safe as possible. Which leads me to the next biggest topic in terms of communication. We are in a state of social awareness. Everyone is on their mobile phones, on social media, on chat, on engagement apps, trying to find out as much information about your property prior to making a booking and prior to arrival. So make it as easy for your potential guests to learn about the good things that your property is doing, but also utilize all of the tools to also highlight your property in the best way possible. There's a number of different technologies out there in guest engagement apps that you can continue the relationship with your guests once they've booked on your website or through any other channel. But definitely make use of and maximize the communication flow with them so that they feel as comfortable as possible. Trying to always tick the psychological check boxes that they have. And the easiest way to do that for your own property is to just put yourself in the consumer's shoes. What would you be thinking about for your children, or for your partners, for your loved ones when you're traveling? Make sure that those things are being taken in consideration, and you present them in a way that you would want to see them if you were the consumer that was traveling. So I always advise hoteliers, clients, that we do get used to being in the driver's seat of being the hospitality provider, but sometimes we need to take a sit backwards for a while, and actually put ourselves in the position of the guest and remember what it feels like and what the expectations of that exciting journey or that first trip in 3 months is going to feel like, so that you can provide them with that experience. Which leads me on to giving your guests as much power as you can. Give them access to your property in the palm of your hand. There's tons of different, if your PMS may offer it, or your existing CRS or channel or booking engine may already provide you with some of these tools. But if not, there's third-party ones that you can always find on the market. But look into and explore guest engagement tools that will allow you to not only enhance the experience of your guests, because instead of them having to pick up a guest book, or for you to the increase of maybe having to replace guest books in the property, or sanitizing them, or assisting with check-in and check-out, allow your guests to do this through their own personal mobile handset, their smartphone. by giving them a customized app that they can download, or they can access by being online, and they can do simple things like ordering their breakfast instead of having to go down to a buffet, ordering room service or directions to the property, or simple things as I said, as check-in and check-out. It also allow them to be able to say that they need additional sanitizations or sanitization wipes in their room, or they need a mask. Little things that you can do to assist that makes it easier for them, because I'm sure there are going to be guests who are going to be a little bit hesitant of using the phone more than they were prior to the pandemic. In the property, or using a tablet that's provided by the property. They'll feel a lot safer if they can do this all in the palm of their own personal device. Review your digital footprint. I can't emphasize this more than ever. As I said, we are in a very we're in a very aware, socially aware period where everyone can see all of the information about your property without even visiting your website or coming to the property. So this is an opportune time for you to review your website, review your booking engine, your social media channels, your directories, ensure that the information, the content there is relevant, phone numbers are correct, the images or videos that you have posted are the best quality that you can provide, that they're in the correct format. And these are things that we all know that we should do, but sometimes when we're really busy, we tend to let them fall by the side. But I'm hoping that a lot of you have already done this exercise and done a full review of your digital footprint online, so that you can see what customers and potential customers are reading about your property. Also look at your review channels to make sure that there aren't any negative comments that haven't been addressed, and also reward those of your guests, the guests that have left positive comments, and try to retarget them and trying to get them, reminding them of the great experience that they had at your property, so that they would come out as soon as they can get there again. And also don't forget the traditional means such as your sales collateral and guest directories. Make sure that they've been updated and that the information in there is relevant. The worst thing that you can ever do is find a hotel website or a link to a hotel, maybe it be a banner ad or something of that nature. And when you dial the number or you send an email, either the link doesn't work, or the phone number is out of service, or whatever or the email address returns to you. You just start your experience already is starting off on the wrong foot from a customer's point of view. So take the time. I know it's a tedious process, but continuously review your digital footprint. It should be something that, if not done at least once a month, that you do it at least on a quarterly basis, because that is what your customers are going to be reading about you prior to booking your property. And I say this just to give you an example of why this is so important, because during this period of COVID, engagement on social media has been up over 40%. That is a huge opportunity, and it's not as high as 40% right now. It's started to taper off because a lot of people are back to work and so forth. But it's an opportune time to look and listen to your customers and see what they're saying about your property, see what they're saying about your city, about your community. Because remember, you're not just selling a bed. You're actually selling an experience. The hotel is going to be part of the experience that individual guest is going to have with their spouse, children, or friends and family, or if it's a business trip. But you need to take in mind that business is also blended into pleasure. So they're going to want to experience something while they're in that city, especially when you look at the millennial traveler, for example. Keep users follow up on your up-to-date. Let them keep them notified on your up-to-date plans. If you haven't reopened yet, or you're running any special offers, or there's anything that you've done special to ensure that they're going to have a better experience, the next time they come to your property. Make sure that you notify them. But also, more importantly, this is, as I said, it's a great opportunity for you to build your social media following, so that you can, when you are ready to do promotions or any packages, for example, you have a larger reach and a more engaged audience. And because there's so many topics and so much to say right now in terms of with COVID, there's a lot that it's very easy for you to find out information that's relevant and to your audience, and especially if you're listening to them, they will actually tell you what they want to learn more about, and just keep them engaged. Also, while they're on the website, on your on Facebook, for example, I would definitely look at your booking engine or your PMS provider, whoever's providing you with your booking engine, and see if you can get a dedicated Facebook booking engine. And the reason behind this is pretty simple. If someone is they're on Facebook, they're in the environment that they're comfortable with. If you give them the opportunity to book directly there rather than them having to be redirected to another page, you're basically removing one step in their booking process. So you try to make it as efficient as possible for that customer to get from deciding to book your property, not just searching, but from deciding to make a booking at your property and actually making it. If you can eradicate one more step, then you're gonna just be delighting that customer in their journey before they even get to your property. Plus, it makes it much easier for them to share with their friends that they have just booked at your property. So there's a lot of benefits in it. So, sales and marketing. I've had a lot of conversations surrounding sales and marketing over the last 3 months, and one of the things that struck me, I know we all struck me off balance. I know we all have budgets that we need to save, but I couldn't understand why one of the first teams that a lot of hotels wanted to send home were sales and marketing. I could understand why, for financial reasons, you may need to reduce them, but sending the entire team home was definitely a mistake for those of you who did do that. At least keeping some on a skeleton staff would have just to ensure and to try to maximize booking potential. At that time would have been an opportune time to optimize not only strategy but also the practical parts of it. So reaching out to repeat guests, corporates, travel agents, identifying contracting new agents would have been a great opportunity to do that. Turn into the local community, domestic and regional markets to support you. Looking at what events that couldn't take place because of Corona, because of the COVID virus, but that you can host virtually now that that the crowds are able to meet, not in the same capacity, but at least you can host virtual events. Hybrid virtual events, where people are being met with virtually by those who can't actually travel. But at least that is one way of bringing in some business. Really focus on the VFR, visiting friends and relatives. Keep in mind, people have been at home for the last 3 months and they haven't seen certain friends and relatives in those 3 months other than virtually. So human nature is that we want to socialize and interact with others. So take advantage of that and make sure that you're giving out and promoting to your guests that you can have special packages or offers, generated to generate those visits to friends and relatives, or family reunions or group activities at your property that may encourage them to overnight. Book now, stay anytime offers, relaxed cancellation policies is a must, I think, today. Different promotions depending on what's taking place in your city and in your county. Also introduce agents to booking online. I think it's very important, especially I mentioned about being on a skeleton staff, and I know it's as we start to reopen, a lot of hotels are not fully staffed. So you want to try to reduce some of the processes that may have been done manually by your front desk or reservations team. So see if you can introduce a booking engine, or ensure that your booking engine allows agents to book online. so that they can reach you 24/7, and that you can create special dedicated offers to them, so that they can generate more business for themselves and as well for you. And also to have your sales team take the time to re-educate them about, about what you're doing at your property. Travel agents we're seeing an increase prior to COVID. And I personally believe that because of the frustration of customers, as well as some of the negative experiences they had with trying to get refunds, with some of the larger OTAs, as well as with some, even directly with some hotels. A lot of them are going to want to ensure that they have a professional that they're working with to give them some advice when they're making bookings. So I highly advise you to make an effort in terms of fostering those relationships with travel agents. I do think they will be playing a big part again in bookings, and bookings definitely in the short term. Retarget past guests, especially, I mentioned this before, but those who've given stellar reviews in the past, that should be your short list. Make sure that they know that you're reopened, and that they can come there at the discounted rate, maybe, or that they'll have some benefit to a benefit of revisiting your property. Get your sales team to take the time to review your database, your CRM, make sure the segmentation's done, review surveys, make sure that their social details are inputted into your database or your CRM. It's a good time if you don't have a basic CRM. There's so many very affordable ones on the market. Even there's some for free, but you should definitely ensure that you have something. If your PMS doesn't have something that's sufficient, or your CRS doesn't have something that's sufficient, you should definitely look at what's on the market and what you can get at either on a freemium or cost effectively, because profile and being able to manage those profiles in the future, if you didn't pay attention to it in the past, it's going to be even so much more valuable to you moving forward. Another thing that I want to remind everyone about, I'm sure we all remember what the billboard effect is. So I talked about distribution there a little bit, but the OTAs. I know there's been hesitation in the last few years. We've all been fighting the OTAs, trying to do direct, and really focus on being direct. But remember the billboard effect from post 9/11, which basically stated the amount of bookings that you'll get from individuals who initiate their search on a Booking.com or Expedia. Don't forget that this is still relevant, and ensure that you take a look and monitor your distribution strategy. So work with as many channels as you can, relevant channels, not just any and every channel, but figure out the ones that are right for you, right for your property, right for what you're trying to create in terms of your brand. And you may also mean that you have to review your in terms of your source markets due to air traffic. Not every destination or origin market will have flights available at the same time. So for example, if you want to look into the European market or the Chinese market or the Latin American market, look outside of just domestic for the long tail, not for the short term, of course, but look at channels like HRS if you want to attract travelers from Germany when they do start to travel, who from Europe will probably be one of the first. But also take a look at the different OTAs that you're already working with, and try to renegotiate some of those rates with those channels. As well as take advantage of some of the promotions that I know Expedia and Booking.com are going to be offering to hoteliers to try to regenerate business into the market. So pay attention, speak to your account managers, work with them, partner with them, treat them as partners, so that you can make sure that your entire distribution ecosystem and strategy is being optimized. As I said, identify new partners. Also start to look at creating an affiliate network. There are other hospitality businesses in your community that you work with, I'm sure, that that you can create that have demand come into their website, and you can do a barter exchange in terms of you promote their business, I promote your business, or reward them in terms of influencers that you may be able to have banner ads with them and have an affiliate creating your own small affiliate network. The reason I say this is because it's a very easy, cost-effective way for you to try to drive new, uncharted traffic to your website, because this is traffic you may not have been aware of, or that are not going to be aware of you, of your business, of your property. So try to look out and identify who the right partners may be, and those could be your local tour operators, in terms of, or activity planners, or events and attractions, wedding planners. It could be, it could be a community group that has a location nearby your property. They may have people who are driving in and visiting for community meetups. There's just so many opportunities to look at that every single booking is going to count. Another thing is, as I said, which follows into it, is collaborating with regional, city, and theme campaigns to try to, again, garner as much traffic, as much visibility and exposure that you can gain, hoping that when they come to your website or they call your property, that your property can convert that into a booking. Because at the end of the day, marketing can only get the business to your doorstep. The conversion obviously has to come from you as a hotelier, as yourself. Even on OTA, that means you having the right images, the right content that you've shared with them, so that they can sell you better. So keep an eye on that and try to optimize it as much as possible. Be smarter. I can't emphasize this again. Trust and transparency. Consumers are going to be a lot more diligent than before, so be very you need to build trust with them and be as transparent as possible. Flexible policies, offering vouchers instead of refunds, and this is something I'm going to touch on a little bit further on as well, but it's a great way of obviously keeping that cash in hand for guests who need to make a change. Give them a voucher rather than a refund or a rebooking, so that they have that and they can utilize it in the future. But at least they feel that they have options. And everyone likes to have options rather than having to dispute a refund either directly with the property or with the channel or with their credit card company. Offer trip insurance as an extra where possible. Start to look at the ancillaries that you can offer as a product, ancillary products that you can offer at your property, even if that means it's something as simple as N95 mask. My favorite that I've ever come about was a hotel that offered a bowl of fish. A fish bowl, a goldfish in a bowl, for guests to so that checked in on their own, so that they don't have to stay, they don't feel lonely. But they sold it for $10 a night. And you'd be surprised how many, not just business guests was the original thought process, but how many kids, when families are traveling or they're there for the weekend, an extended stay, and the 5-year-old sees the goldfish and says, "Mom, Dad, I need a goldfish to keep me company for the next 2 nights." It's small amounts, but it adds up throughout the course. But that's just a very silly example, but it's one that really impressed me, that worked and was very successful. We've all heard the ones of renting pets for the weekend. And then one of the other things that I think you need to look at right now in terms of optimizing your sales is automate as many processes as possible. I do know that again, a lot of hotels are working on a skeleton staff. Try to make those processes as efficient as possible. And one of the key things to do that is or the first way to start doing that is by consolidating sales. Try to have all your sales and make sure that all your sales are in one system, so that you can easily look at your KPIs, monitor your reports, see what's actually taking place at your property. I'll show you a couple examples of how you can do that in a few seconds. So a few other things that I mentioned, I'm just going to touch on quickly. Selling vouchers. So I talked about issuing vouchers as a refund, but what about selling vouchers and providing them to customers who don't know when they're going to travel, but they do have the time to search and look right now, and they found your property and they want to stay there. They just don't know when. Why not offer them offer packages on your website that offer vouchers for whether it be a spa or just a two-night getaway or a summer blossom? These are just some sample ones that I pulled up that some of our clients have used. But offering them something that they know they're getting at a good rate because ADRs are down, but you know that, but they know that they can utilize it in the future. But at least it's bringing in some additional sales. And even though vouchers in the state of California, as far as I'm aware, they cannot be expired. I do stand correct. I would always advise you to take a look at the at legislation in terms of selling gift vouchers, but offer them because a lot of them may not ever be used. If people get busy again, and unfortunately, if it's not refunded, if they don't refund it, that goes to your bottom line. But you do need to check with the legislations because there are different rules, and I'm not sure if that's by county or by state. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on that topic. One of my team members of my team can give detailed information on that, as well as selling tours and activities along with your hotel room, creating that experience, making sure that the guest is going to have the best experience of their life, because now they're going to have those bucket list destinations that they do want to go to, and California has so many different options there in terms of whether you're in San Diego, San Francisco, or LA, you're going to have many options to share with them. If it's something as doing a sidecar or a bus tour, or going to a museum, doing a Segway tour, it's the opportunities are endless. So ensure that it's very easy for your guests to be either upsold that after they've made a booking, but they can do it through you so you can gain some ancillary revenue, or that they can do it through during the booking process seamlessly, or they can do it simply as an add-on while they're at the hotel. So there's so many different options of technology that's available out there, and some of it's very cost effective to allow you to do that, but it's more than worth it when you look at the ROI and at the end of the day. Also look at making things very convenient for your guest. I've just put a couple of things in here, making sure your booking engine has an area that that travel agents, as I mentioned earlier, this is what it would look like, that they can just type in their username and password and they'll have access directly to their negotiated rates. As well as, if you've never looked into offering flights, when the market does open up for flights, it will be a convenience and value add for customers if they can book everything. If they can book everything directly with you on your website, it's just an added value for them, and it makes them feel more comfortable that if they can get their entire experience through one source, that's just going to enhance the experience that they've had. And when they think of that booking, they're going to think of the property that they made the booking at, rather than the OTA. This is just giving you guys a quick example of working with a system that allows you to consolidate all your sales into one system and manage everything efficiently. Being able to see your revenue. This one was in euros. I do apologize for that. But being able to see what your revenue is, the number of rooms booked, ADR, without having to do any deep analysis. This information should be automatically, if not emailed to you on a daily basis. You should be able to visibly log into a system and see this on a dashboard, see what channels are producing for you, be able to manage any of your direct or indirect channels, as well as travel agencies or group bookings. But try to find and work with a system that allows you to manage sales in one platform. I have a personal belief that people always ask the question, where should I manage my sales? In a CRS, in a channel manager, in a PMS? I have a philosophy that a property management system is built for the operations of a hotel, whereas a CRS which is a central reservation system, is designed to be your control center for sales. But that's my personal philosophy, and one that I do truly believe in, because it was built for that, and that is what and a PMS was naturally built to handle the guest experience once they arrive at the property. But take a look at ensuring that you can have stats in terms of not only what's taken place at your property, but also you need to monitor your competitors. Keep an eye on what are your competitors doing, not just on what their rates are changing to, but also take a look at what their reputation score may compare to, and how it's comparing to your own, especially in this time that's going to be hyper competitive as travel starts to reopen. You need to ensure that you're keeping on top of that, and you don't have to manually go and review all of your competitors or search for their rates by doing a manual process, especially if you're operating a skeleton staff. The other thing that you should do is try to look into your system. Look into your system stack. Look into any integrations that you might need or that you might need your providers to do. If you're not connected to, if your systems aren't connected to your PMS, try to ensure that they are. Because at the end of the day, when the guest arrives on property, you want to be able to have as much information on that guest available either in your PMS or in your CRM, so that you can give them the most delightful experience and a memorable experience for them when they arrive there. Identify partners that may enhance your business as well as help you grow your revenue. That's why I was mentioning some things with in terms of the tours and activities, but it may just be offering a transfer service with a preferred taxi or transfer operator. So these are some things that you may have been doing already, but they're even more so important because with ADRs being down, every penny that can be added to the bottom line is going to help. Also, take a look at the other opportunities that might be readily and easily available to you to help to generate more business. Speak to your staff, find out from them what their thoughts may be as well. One of the key things that I also want to emphasize here is this is an ideal time to ensure that your staff are trained not only from their general jobs and tasks, but also just in terms of especially reservations and front desk from a sales process point of view. Ensure that they know that if someone calls the hotel and says that they found a booking, they found the same room on Booking.com or Expedia or any other channel at a slightly lower rate, you should empower that reservation staff to be able to make a decision that, knowing that if they book directly with you, it's probably going to cost you less because it didn't cost you. They've called in, they've actually come to you directly, rather than saying or telling that potential customer, okay, then I guess you should book it on Booking.com. I know some of you may be nodding your heads and say that would never happen at my property, but I've had this experience and tested and tried it out at hotels from the at five-star luxury properties as well as independent properties, and I would say at least almost three out of 5 times that front desk or reservation person tells me that I should just book it directly on the OTA, not being aware that that's going to cost the hotel or the revenue team 15 to 20%, depending on the agreement that you have with that channel. So take the time out to train and refresh your client, your staff. That you need to ensure that every booking counts. So I've been talking for a while and I've gone over a few minutes. So I just want to leave you guys with a quick system and sales health check. Monitor competitor review and rate and automate reports if possible. Check rate plan expiry dates and availability. Ensure that 2021 is open. I'm surprised from my support team when they've told me how many of our clients we've had to remind them to reopen 2021 because they closed everything during COVID. A quick reminder, don't reduce your bar rate. Create relaunch offers. I would never advise anyone to reduce their bar. Just do relaunch offers so someone can see really realistically when they're making that booking that that is a discounted rate, and they can see it either through a strike through or a sign saying 20% discount on their bill, whatever your means of operation is. And ensure that your channel credentials and mapping are all valid and accurate as we start to reopen. Consolidate sales, which I've touched on multiple times. Collaborate with the community. Explore selling vouchers, extras, and other ancillaries. Dedicated Facebook and social media booking engine. Reduce distribution costs wherever you can. Automation with a business rule engine. Try to see if I didn't touch on this as much, but if within the systems that you do have, see if find out from your providers if you can automate any of the processes that you do manually. An easy example is if you've reached a certain occupancy, automate your rate plan should change to a higher rate plan, or you may want to close out a room and only sell a maybe more expensive room because you've reached a certain occupancy. I know we're all struggling at low occupancies right now, so it's not something to be too concerned of, but you want to make sure that you try to you don't miss out on any opportunities, and that your system is as robust as possible, especially given the fact that, again, a lot of us are working with not a full staff, the full staffing that we had in the past, making it easier for travel agents to book. And take a look at conversion tools. There's so many of them on the market that help and have proven over time that they have increased the conversion on websites and booking engines. So take a look at the different ones that your booking engine's integrated to, or that that you may want to ask and inquire for request for your booking engine to integrate to. So these are 11 systems and sales points that I would think that you should definitely check into, look into, have your team explore. And now at this point, I wanted to just hand it over to Jessica for a Q&A and any questions that anyone may have. And also, I wanted to reward everybody for taking the time out of their day to listen to this webinar. Hopefully, it's been useful. I will take Q&A, stick around for some questions, but we are going to give an offer to everyone who attended this webinar. Jessica, I did know that it was we did say 3 months, but we have approved a 6-month free. So basically 18 months for the price of 12. That you can get access to a Busy Room Central reservation system, which gives you a CRS, CRO system, so you can manage all your direct walk-ins as well as your group bookings, competitor rate and review monitoring booking engine, Facebook booking engine, channel manager, and guest engagement app. And if you want more details on that, you can easily give me a call or reach out to me by email. I will share my details. My details are on the screen, so you can either reach out to me directly at casey@busyrooms.com or americas@busyrooms.com. Jessica, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Casey. Thank you for the special offer, and we'll go ahead and dive into questions here. So just as a reminder, if you haven't already, please go ahead and type in your questions into the toolbar here, and we'll go ahead and read those aloud for you. So the first question we have here, Casey, is if you have local negotiated business with pre-COVID rates, what do you suggest we do given business travel will be slower to come back?
So can you just repeat the first part of the question?
Sure. If you have local negotiated business with pre-COVID rates.
Yes. Okay. What should you do seeing that business is going to be slow? I would have a discussion with those businesses, to find out what their plans are in terms of what their because those rates would have been. I'm going to assume that those rates were negotiated based on a volume of business that was forecasted. So I would have a discussion with them to see how they think that how COVID's going to impact that volume, which is probably going to be in decline. And I would have an open discussion and see if you can find a meeting ground, because they have to understand you're also in business as well, and that rate that you would have negotiated with them would have been based on an expectation. However, at the same time, you don't want to lose that business. So that's why I suggest having an open discussion with them and seeing how you can come to an agreement that's going to foster a better relationship, not just for today during COVID, but also for the future, because you won't want to throw away that business just because you've decided to either they've managed to find a cheaper rate with someone who was desperate, or because you increased your rates because the volume wasn't in alignment with what your expectations were initially when it was initially negotiated. So communication with them, and be open.
Thank you. And our next question, how can you find out what the laws are with offering a voucher?
You can go to the, I'm going to slip back, as you can go to the, I believe it's a CPCA, or you can just Google selling gift vouchers in California, and I think it's the second link that will come up, and they give you all of the rules about selling vouchers in California. I'd be I'd be happy to share that link with Jessica, and you can share that with anyone who's asked.
Sure, that'd be great. And our next question here, let's see here. How can you add flights to your booking process, and if it's commissionable?
So that's a common question. Unfortunately, it's not commissionable. It's I can only speak for the way that we do it at Busy Rooms. Different companies, there's only about 2 or 3 companies that offer this as a service for independent or group hotels in the booking process. But we don't. It's not commissionable because it's there as an added value, as a convenient factor. And there is a ticket processing fee, and that's a fee that you can either pass on to the guest, or you can decide to have it built into your rate plan. But we integrate directly with the GDS, and so we pull the exact same rates that a travel agent will be getting access to through the GDS, or that the customer will have access to through Expedia. Or Skyscanner if they were searching there. So we pull the exact same rates for flights, the airlines that are on the GDS, and in a lot of some cases we do have regional carriers that may not be participating in the GDS or in markets that we do a lot of business in. But most major airlines for California definitely would be on the GDS. So it's basically a plug and play. And as a hotelier, you have no responsibility for it. It all goes through the ticketing company that we work with. So it's purely there as an added value for your customer.
All right, thank you. And I'm just checking here. I don't see any additional questions at this time. So, again, for anybody that does have any additional questions after the presentation, please go ahead and refer to Casey's contact information that's listed here on the slide for you. And thank you, Casey. Do appreciate you taking the time to present for us today. And again, as mentioned earlier, please go ahead and refer to our website at calodging.com, and on our homepage, you'll find this recording with CHNLA's coronavirus updates and resources. And please note, our next CHNLA's COVID-19 state webinar will be held tomorrow on July 1st, and then hospitality practices and resources for infection prevention and control on July 8th, and ADA web accessibility for the hospitality world on July 29th. The registration is available online, and I hope you can join us for our next presentation. And thanks so much for listening in. Thank you, and thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for everyone who's joined. Have a great day.